Hey guys, welcome to the first ever episode of Reboot, where me and one of my buddies talk about an old classic game and how we'd reboot it for modern times. This week I'm joined by Sean Capri of We the Nerdy. You could find his link down in the description down below. This is going to be a weekly show airing every Wednesday, and every week we're going to pick a different classic game and reboot it to the future. In the first ever episode, we're going to be rebooting WRESTLEMANIA 2000 for the Nintendo 64, so I hope you enjoy. It's not much more to say than sit back, relax, grab your favorite snack, don't forget to sub, and here we go! Woo! Hey, Sean. Well, thanks for being the first guest ever on
I'm
Reboot.
good, man. I got my Diet
Today,
Pepsi. It's Lincoln is in bed. We're ready to talk about games from my youth and childhood from like 20 some odd years ago. So let's do it, man. Let's bring them back to life.
Well, I'm ready to rock. All right, so the first game, I'm actually giving it to you. What is the first game you want to talk about?
Dude,
on
my
Reboot
first
and
game
why?
that I absolutely, this is the first thing that came to my mind, was something from Sleepovers Extraordinaire, man, was WrestleMania 2000 from the N64. Of course, coming out in 1999, as you just told me 30 seconds ago before I started recording. Dude, the reason that I want to bring this back is because actually I want to speak sort of like on behalf of all sports games. WrestleMania 2000 is emblematic of all the things that are pure and good in wrestling games and also in arcade experiences that we had as kids on the 64, playing with three of our best friends and fighting off all the other kids in the room, trying to just play this game all freaking night, playing with against our buddies with the Royal Rumble and just playing all night, man. I could go on and on about this game, but I just love it. I love it.
I mean, what brings such a special warmth to my heart when thinking about WrestleMania 2000 and all the those type of games is the
Big time.
couch co-op factor. I think there's nothing better than having three of your buddies next to you doing like a Royal Rumble or cage fight and just like throwing the N64 controller around. That's why I think it's such a great game.
I just think
deserves
about
a
like
reboot.
the punishment that we put those controllers through. Like when you think about a game like WrestleMania 2000, like you're not taking it easy on that control. You're not being gentle at all. You're smashing every button which way or the other, and you're throwing it at your friends and everything. So I had so much fun with that. And there's so many layers to this, but I think the biggest thing is that it's in its simplicity. There's not really a whole lot going on here, but there's enough to sink your teeth into, but not too much to scare away everybody. And that's why everybody just picked it up and played it. If you were a button masher, you could get by, but if you wanted to get into something deep, like create your own character and create your own version of Stone Cold, or like put your face on a character with a moveset like The Rock or The Undertaker, like you could do that in all of this, man. It was pretty ahead of its time, I feel like, for the 64.
Oh, definitely. The graphics were great. You know, the art style was great. It was just like perfect presentation. But let's say if we were going to reboot this game, what type
I feel
of
like,
art
you know,
style
this
do you
might be a
think
cheap
should-
answer, and I'm glad I'm going first on this, but like I feel like anytime we see one of these experiments by a modder or programmer where they just throw it in the Unreal 4 engine, everything just like automatically looks better. I still want a bit of like arcadiness to it. Like it would be really cool to see like a 1080p but still square frame like characters. Like they don't really have a lot of like contour to the face, because I think here's the thing, Jesse. I'm so glad we just make things up on the spot as we go, because it just came to mind. Like, you know how we've sort of gotten used to 16-bit games and pixel art being like this beautiful thing. I feel like there's something to be said or something to be discovered within the first 3D games, like the 64 and the PlayStation 1, where we have like this stylized, crappy polygonal character. And I think that would be really cool to have like sort of like a mushed up face, but for some reason we're getting like a little finer in the details of what mushy faces kind of look like.
Sure. You know what? You're so true. Polygons
Yeah,
are
man.
really getting a bad rap these days. Like, oh, no one likes the triangle or the square anymore. Like, I personally, like, I love, like modern games that look so realistic you could touch them. But maybe that's not what this is supposed to be. Maybe wrestling is kind of like that in-between entertainment and sport. So maybe it would be better to almost go a little, not dumbed down graphics, but maybe not like realistic. Like I don't need to see all the chest hair and Shawn Michaels,
Yeah,
or
man.
one of the more modern wrestlers. So I definitely feel like art style, like maybe even
Good
cell
one.
shaded, not like
Yep.
Breath of the Wild, but maybe something in that way, so it still looks pretty, but
Actually,
it's
cell
not
shaded is
ultra
perfect. That's
detailed, you
that's
know
like
what I mean?
exactly what I'm thinking. That's perfect.
All right, so we're gonna lock in cell shaded. Now, the next point I want to bring up is like story and plot. And if you remember those games, they always had a story mode, but you'd always get to this part in the game where all of a sudden you had to fight in a handicap match, and it'd be 2 against 1, and you would just get your butt kicked, or you'd have to go into a Royal Rumble, and it'd be impossibly hard. What I'm thinking is make a very advanced story mode similar to Detroit Becomes Human, where every decision you make could either steer you in one direction or the other. So you could choose to be a good guy or a babyface or a bad guy or a heel, and you kind of just like steer it in that way. And you've
man, I was starting to think of like how could like a roguelike kind of work its way into this type of thing, like where everything is like procedurally generated, and like you never have the same experience twice. Is I think one of the biggest things that I would have stopped playing the story modes in the original 64 games, just because like this is the same path every single time. So I think that's kind of what you're getting at too, is just like a little bit of unpredictability, and just a couple like weird factors in behind the scenes go like, now you're getting pushed, or now you're not getting like, you're not the face of the organization, or you're not the heel. So I don't know, man. I think that would be kind of neat. It's funny because I scoffed a little bit when he said like story mode in a wrestling game, but yeah, like that could be something neat that they test out here and probably go over to the regular WWE series that they've got every now and then.
And no, it'd be cool if like you could be a good guy for like the first half, and then like you could make the decision. You know what? I'm gonna turn on my tag team partner.
So good.
I'm become a bad guy. Like at any point, like your tag team partner starts annoying you a little too much. You're like, you know what? Screw this guy. I'm gonna hit him in the back of the head with a steel chair. And now
I need the Spanish announce table back, though. We need to put somebody to the Spanish announce table.
We need I think I know Crackdown 3 is supposed to have destructible environments, but if we reboot WrestleMania,
and that's the thing, like you have like it's so cartoony, so silly and everything, but then you have like these oddly realistic parts to it that kind of draw you in to make it look like a modern game, but still have that arcadey type of feel that it's just it looks like something you could pick up and play for 5 minutes or 5 hours with your friends.
And like you said before, like a good part of that game was button mashing. Now when it comes to actual gameplay, do you want it to be just a pure button masher? Do you want it to be like have to memorize combos?
I always liked it because like I could get by with just like a down C, throws the guy against the ropes or whatever, and then like you kind of hold A for a hard grapple or just a regular A just to kind of quickly grapple him. And like that, it's just like the entries into different types of movesets were plentiful because they were dependent on the button that you push. And then the one afterwards, like it didn't require like a Street Fighter or Marvel vs. Capcom or Mortal Kombat type of moveset. It was just kind of like whether you were Stone Cold or The Undertaker or whoever, like they just had different types of, I don't know, pile drivers or DDTs or things like that. I just want that. I don't need anything crazy. And I feel like that's why I personally walked away from the series as it started to get less arcadey and more realistic, quote unquote realistic.
Yeah. Some of the new games are just like too complicated. It's like I just want to do a pile driver, man. I have to memorize 3 buttons for this. And this just came to me, but I think one of the best fighting games in terms of gameplay these days is Super Smash Brothers. And it's like up B and you could do something awesome. Down Y, you do something awesome. Just hit the joystick and all of a sudden you're busting out rock bottoms and Stone Cold Stunners, or Brock Lesnar's finisher move. What is that? Whatever. I can't remember now. If any wrestling fans are watching this, they'll definitely.
It's a stupid name. I think it starts with like an L or something. I don't know. No, I was thinking Jackknife. That was somebody else.
Brock Lesnar's. It's the R7.
Yeah,
no, he is a pretty.
But like even the thing about like balancing the game is easier when you have it that simple. Like when they're just like categories of moves rather than like things that get a little too crazy. Especially with that many. Like wrestling game has a roster that is nuts. So if we want this to be simple, it's got to be all the way through.
You know, it's funny, like all the special matches they used to have back in the day, like the casket match,
I Quit,
the ladder match, the steel cage match, I Quit. Like they haven't really evolved in the last 20 years. Those are still the staples for like today. You know, maybe they have some silly ones like bat on a pole match, but like basically the main matches are still the same ones that used to have. So bringing that to a modern game wouldn't be that difficult. But what I do want to ask you, since it is going to be a game made 20 years later, we are rebooting this game. What needs to change? What needs to take that big leap forward?
I think probably like online is kind of a big deal, right? Where couch co-op was the thing before, but it's always an easy answer now going from like a 64 game to the future is like, I want to have not only like online, but then power that to, if I wanted to do like a Royal Rumble, have like a tournament mode, or if you have like people who could like join in as like the 64th member or something like that, just have like these crazy, just make it over the top, because the rest of the game is just so lightweight that you can just pile in characters of people who've made their own characters, and because everything is kind of like slotted into the same categories, nobody is unbalanced, right? Like a pile driver is a pile driver, or a light grapple does the same damage as anything else. And just, I don't know, just opening it up to for everybody to be a part of it, I think would be hilarious. Spectator mode could let you kind of do more of an esports mode. I'd love to have like you or like Bobby or somebody do like commentating, so you could have everybody, if they're playing, but also you could be like watching, and you basically put on like a broadcast, like a WWE broadcast. And then the last thing that I would say is like you sort of act like if you were launching this for 20 of us to all join in, you'd be like a dungeon master almost, right? Like you set up the storyline for everybody else to come participate in. Like that's getting away a little bit from the arcadiness, but it goes right into what we all loved about the wrestling games from the start, was just like wrestling is fun. Like it's just like imagine if, or like the speculation is endless. And for you to own that experience and to drive it forward, I think would be amazing.
You said something that struck me, and you said a Royal Rumble. And, Royal Rumble is kind of the original
that's what I'm talking
Fortnite
about.
Battle Royale, Imagine you sign up and it's like 30 people. Everybody's their own account online.
And that would be amazing. And you know what would be funny is if like you had just a bunch of Royal Rumbles, like just kind of happening all consecutively, and you just like drop in on one. You get booted out of one, you fly up in your plane, drop in on another one. Like it'd just be awesome. Yeah, man. And who knows? Like maybe one time you get lucky and you're the 100th character. Like you're the last one to jump in. Like kind of like the lottery draws that they used to have. Like, oh, of course this guy got the 100th pick, but. I mean, that could be amazing.
So now on the flip side of the coin, like what do we need to keep in the game so it still has its heart and soul? I think we kind of touched on it before with kind of the, easy to pick up and play gameplay. But is there anything else that you could think of that like needs to be in it so it wouldn't feel just like another wrestling game, but it would feel like, a reboot?
Well, for that era, man, it was all about the Attitude Era. Like we've moved on past, so I don't know if I can make this game and in my mind reconcile the new superstars. I think you kind of have to cap it with the roster. Certainly the art style and the control style have to be a little bit more simplified. So yeah, man, and just kind of having those weird simplifications, but have fun with it, I think definitely would allow you to keep the soul and the spirit of the original.
Now, as we wrap up, it's going to be one of the segments of the show where we pick a name for this new reboot. But I think it's pretty obvious that it'll just be called WrestleMania 2020.
No, I like that a lot, man. Yeah, I like kind of like locking it in and then not making it an annual thing. Like because WrestleMania 2000 sort of sounded like they were going to get a WrestleMania 2001, but we never did.
Yeah, so we'll do WrestleMania 2020, and then in 20 more years we'll do WrestleMania 2040. All right, any final thoughts of?
I want some sort of like physical version of this game that's like the equivalent of the black cart, like the black N64 cart that we got. But like, like something like that. I don't even know what that would end up being. Maybe the disc is a little smaller or something like that, or I'm not even exactly sure. But
I'll take it one step further. I want a custom Switch with the Rock's.
What were those like wrestling dolls? Like they were big, like. Yeah, and they had they all had like those are so cool. Wrestle Buddies. Something like that. I wanted to come with a Wrestle Buddy.
And then if scale 1 to 10, 1 no chance of happening, 10
oh my God, it's like
going to happen in
like
the future.
4,
where are you at?
They're never going back to that.
I would say less.
It's wishful thinking on behalf of many other games in its like NFL Blitz was another one that I almost brought up as well. But those just like purely arcadey, just stupid, nonsensical games were so great. And yeah, I think that would be amazing, but probably never going to happen.
They're just like games that were like represented a period of time.
I can just like taste like the Mountain Dew and the Cheetos that we were eating at the same time, man. When we're talking about this.
Oh man. We need this. We need this one back. I might be writing some letters to EA to get rid of their licenses. All right. Well,
you can find me if you're looking in Canada, but on the internet, you can find me on Twitter at Sean Capri. Of course, it's Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. I stream at twitch.tv/Sean Capri as well. So either place, you're probably going to find me there.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me. Definitely have you back on sometime. This is Turbo Jesse. I'll see you guys on the flip side. And remember, every game is just one game away from being a reboot.